All right, let's dig into a massive question today. What are you? I mean, really, at your core, what makes you a person? We're going to explore a really old blueprint from Thomas Aquinas that, believe it or not, gives us a powerful way to understand how we tick, even today.
So let's just jump right in. We talk about ourselves all the time, like we're split in two, right? My mind wants one thing, but my body wants another. It's a feeling we all know. But what if that whole idea, that picture of a ghost driving a machine, is just fundamentally wrong?
To get a better handle on this, let's look at a different concept altogether. It's this idea that the soul isn't some kind of spooky ghost floating inside of you. Instead, it's the very thing that makes you one single whole being.
Now, according to Aquinas, the soul is the form of the body. Okay, what does that mean? Think about a blueprint for a house. The blueprint isn't a thing you'd find inside the finished house. It's the entire organizing plan that makes all that wood and brick and wire become a house. In the same way, your soul is what takes all your physical parts and makes them into a living, unified you.
Or, hey, let's use a more modern analogy. If your body's the hardware, the computer, the screen, the keyboard, then your soul is the operating system. It's not just another app. It's the core system that allows everything else, your thinking, your feeling, your choosing, to run together as one integrated whole.
Okay, so if the soul is our personal OS, what are the main apps it's running? Well, Aquinas points to three fundamental powers that really define our inner life.
First up, we've got the intellect. This is our power to think, to understand the world around us. Its whole job, its entire purpose, is to look at reality and figure out what's true.
Next up is the will. You can think of this as our rational desire. Once our intellect sees something and says, hey, that's true, and that's good for us, the will is the power that lets us actually choose it, to move toward that good thing.
And third, there's the sensitive appetite. Now, this is our capacity for emotions and feelings. These are those immediate, gut-level bodily responses to things we see or hear, things our senses tell us are either good and we should move toward them, or bad and we should get away.
So, we have these three powers, but how do they actually fit together?
Well, they're not just a chaotic mess inside of us. They're actually designed to work in a very specific order, almost like an internal chain of command for a person who's functioning well.
And here's how that perfect flow is supposed to look. Step 1. The intellect acts as the guide. It looks at the world and says, okay, here's what's true, and here's a good path forward. Step 2. The will is the commander. It takes that information from the intellect and makes the choice, saying, yes, we're doing that. And finally, step 3. The sensitive appetite acts as the engine, providing all that emotional energy and drive to actually carry out what the will has commanded.
So, why are we talking about this ancient structure? I mean, why does this matter for us, right here, right now? Well, it turns out this model of an integrated self has some pretty profound things to say about our modern ideas of well-being.
The first huge point is this. You are not a bunch of separate parts at war with each other. You are a single, unified self. Your capacity to think, to choose, and to feel, they're all designed to work together as one cohesive system.
And this framework gives us a really powerful way to think about mental health. So look on the left. You see the integrated self. The intellect guides the will. The will directs our appetites and emotions. And the result is harmony. It's well-being. But now look at the right. This is what happens when things get flipped upside down. Our appetites, our immediate feelings start bossing around the will, and our intellect gets totally ignored. The result? Internal conflict, distress, and that awful feeling of being out of control.
And what this means is that mental health isn't just a psychological issue, it's anthropological. It goes right to the very structure of what it means to be a human being. Real health, from this viewpoint, is about living in sync with our own design.
So, it all comes down to this. Our well-being really depends on this internal order. That feeling of harmony isn't an accident. It's the natural result of our whole system functioning the way it's supposed to.
So let's end with this thought. Understanding this internal structure isn't just some abstract philosophical exercise. It's a practical map for self-awareness. The next time you feel that inner tug-of-war, just ask yourself, who's in the driver's seat right now? Is it the guide? Is it the commander? Or is it the engine trying to steer?